There we go. Welcome to February 3rd. It's already February of 2022 Java operators meeting. And sorry I'm late, but technical difficulties, but we're all ready to go now. Let me see if there's anything on the agenda. Find that one. See my calendar. Everybody sees my calendar now. There we go. Yeah, there's nothing new on the agenda. Any new attendees? Any new faces today? No, looks
Are
like
we recording?
thought we were. Is it not
Oh,
recording?
we are. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong place.
Oh, good. I was like, is it messed up? So, do we have any new faces like to introduce themselves? No, it looks like we've got no new faces. All right, that's fine. Any new community interests or topics anyone wanted to bring up today? The Java operators plugin for SDK, there are a few updates coming. There were some dependency bumps. We're currently verifying that it's working with SDK, and then we'll create a PR for that and integrate it. More than likely, it'll be out in 1.18 of the SDK, and we'll do a release before that of the plugins 0.2 and have that come out. That includes a bunch of updates to the Quarkus extension. I think it uses the Java operator SDK2. We've bumped the Kubernetes in the plugin as well. So a few things like that. Anything else? Attila, are you talking? I think I heard somebody that sounded like a really, really small.
Yes,
There
sorry
you
again.
are.
I don't know why this is happening. Sometimes just Linux pulls down my volume on microphone, and no idea why.
That happened to me. Especially with Zoom, it would just like adjust it. And I had to go in. There's a setting, I'll send it to you. There was a setting I had to put in to keep it from doing that because it was trying to be smart. And it was not being very smart at all.
Yeah, yeah. This is the inverse of being smart.
Exactly.
Or opposite. Okay, on the Java operator SDK side, we released 2.1, and we had some nice issues in progress and merged, and there are some new issues. I can give an update. We can go through the backlog if there is nothing else on the table. Just very quickly, just give you an overview of what is going on at the moment.
Sure.
And that's it from me, basically.
Okay. Yeah, we can let you give that update. Let me make sure. Anyone else have any community interest or anything that they wanted to bring up? Okay, well, let me go check the triage board here. Oh, we got a new one. It seems the only way to use this is to rely on some additional Quarkus boilerplates. I'd like to just construct some POJO from operator SDK without needing to additionally clean up extraneous resources. Okay. I mean, this is something I know we've talked about, just doing like a plain old Java one and not having Quarkus as part of it. Assign this to myself. Okay. There's no new ones. So yeah, we recently updated the extension, the Quarkus extension, and currently the bump to go 117 is in flight. And then once this merges, we'll do a release of the plugins. Okay. Now, Attila, these are the things that you were going to talk about. Are they issues on the project, or more of a what is that thing called? More of a backlog type of thing?
Yeah, it's more of a backlog review or refinement. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, if you have any comments, feedbacks, or maybe I will have some questions again.
Okay.
But yeah, if we can go just through them
I
quickly.
don't see any new issue that hasn't this one. Often when the controller fails.
This is just in the unit tests, and there is already a pull request. So basically what's happening if an integration test fails, which is working with a real like Minikube or kind in the background, then basically it's if there are finalizers, then it doesn't clean it up, and the integration test suite what we have tries to delete on the next startup the namespace, but it's not able to delete it because there is finalizer. So, but Andrea already did a pull request fixing this problem, so hopefully after that gets merged, this will be fixed.
Cool.
I mean, it's a not big deal if you just do Minikube delete and start again, but it's just annoying in the tests if you are developing the tests, basically.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we a lot of times we end up having to do like a kind cluster delete and restart it. When you're doing the test, that is kind of annoying. But trying to do a lot more engineering around it so that to prevent it without doing the deleting of the cluster. I mean, they're usually running CI where you're going to start clean. You just want to run through the testing. So, yeah, that's fair.
I'm that lazy guy that usually just deletes the cluster and don't try to fix these problems.
Me too. Because CI often starts with a fresh cluster anyway. So.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Okay, the rest of these have been triaged. Yeah, this is a common request where they want to see testing.
Yeah, this is probably we'll focus on this after we finish or get dependent resources to a certain point. And then probably my focus will be this testing part and showcasing the tests and everything.
Cool.
It's quite important. Something that I'd love to help out with if we want to kind of push more on the, providing like a base, like a Java image for scorecard and like providing a basic test suite, and like a base custom image for users to develop like custom Java scorecard tests.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, it would definitely be useful to see how we can integrate scorecard with some of the Java stuff, just as an example for SDK users as well. So.
I don't know scorecard. I mean, what is scorecard? I mean, this is a specific framework, or
a scorecard is part of the operator framework SDK. It's a tool that allows you to run tests against your operator in a cluster. So you can there's some basic tests that kind of validate bundles that are going into OLM and a few other things, but then you can also write custom tests that can do whatever integration or any testing that you want. A lot of the folks on the Go and Ansible side have been using the scorecard feature to kind of add their custom tests. We also have Red Hat QE is looking at writing tests in this way so that they can test operators. And some of the features of scorecard will allow you to capture the output from a test from the cluster, output that to a local directory so you can analyze it. It also can output both JSON and XML format in an XUnit specific, I guess, format that you can import into other tooling. We've had a request for outputting JUnit so that we can take the test output and put it into like some of the like Jenkins and stuff. But that's what that is. And we can put a link to it. It's not the main testing framework because a lot of people will use env test to do kind of like integration or ETE tests inside, but scorecard is kind of like an external type of testing.
Okay.
It assumes your operator is running. That's a key assumption.
Yes.
Okay, I would definitely like to take a look on that sometimes. I mean, we already cover, so just for information, inside the core, we have hundreds of unit tests and lots of integration tests running against usual Minikube or kind. But this is more about the user experience, like how testing is done when somebody is writing the operator. And it's already covering some of that, basically with JUnit extensions. JUnit is a standard Java testing framework, and there are improvements on that side. But I'm very interested in what scorecards can give us. So it's definitely we'll take a look, or we can take a look.
Cool. Yeah, testing is always something that comes up, and I've seen some of the questions I've seen range from, you can tell it's a person who's been used to testing stuff, so they just want to know, okay, how do I write unit tests for this for my operator? And then there are folks who they know that they need to be testing, but they're not really, they're familiar with a bunch of different technologies, but then they just kind of want a best practice of how would you recommend I test an operator? And then it depends on how they want to test it, because now you've got your typical unit test, not only testing the way that, which you can model after the way the framework is being tested to test your operator, but then there's the running ones. Hey, my operator is running, I'd like to interact and test with it that way. So it's a variety. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't see any new issues. The rest of these look like they've been triaged already.
I think I'm putting the labels. I think these are top 3 days ago, 4 days ago. I new ones actually.
Okay.
In terms of, we didn't check them on last week, but I kind of took a look on it. Okay, that was just created for fun. and about a few hours after that, somebody just jumped in and said, "Okay, I will do it."
That's awesome.
I really didn't mean it that way. Actually, I'm not sure if you want to have this, but okay, if it's done, it's done. It's basically just tweeting on the end of the release the pipeline. There is a GitHub action that will just send a tweet on the. Basically, we have a channel, right, or account in Twitter for an official Java Operator SDK channel, and it just will tweet there that automatically after we release the version.
Awesome.
So that's it's a good first issue, I guess. So it's
yes.
So.
No, that's pretty cool. That's cool. Did you want me to go through the list as
I
they
think
show
the
up?
third one that you already talked about. The third one, that
the transforming.
Discuss.
Okay.
Yes, so we are constantly thinking about this issue. I a little bit discussed with Joe that there were some improvements also on the caching side in the control runtime, as far as I know. But we are thinking in two issues, at least I'm thinking in these, if there will be some issues with the big caches and memory. One is that pruning. So this was, I think, I did in Kubernetes recently, that you are able to just prune the object and not put the whole object in the cache and stuff like that. So that is one thing. There are some details I'm not sure that we have to figure it out. So this is the one new caching issue. and the other is the limiting the caching sizes, basically. That's this other one. We basically, I think, kind of a heuristic would work pretty well. Like if you say that I want to just in the cache at most, I don't know, 500 objects, or 5,000, doesn't matter, can be configured, and evict the ones which were the latest. I mean, they were read or write. Wasn't read or write recently. And basically, this is how out of the box there are some major caching libraries which are super efficient and super configurable in Java. These are in-memory caches, and basically out of the box works this way. So obviously the problem is then what happens if it comes a reconciliation, it's not in the cache, then we have to go to the API server, read the object if it's a cache miss. So, and we want to have a kind of integrate this to this dependency resources epic. So it will be probably should be part of that. But basically these are the two things how we are thinking the step forward to optimizing the caching if it's needed. But again, it's probably not something that we will do soon. It's more like discuss it and have comments and kind of any advices or something on that. So just sketched out.
Cool. Okay. Event filtering.
Yes, I think this at the end will be closed. So one of our users came with a very tricky situation, which is actually not that tricky. At the end, that if there's some kind of a transactionality, so he wants to reconcile, or ideally wants to reconcile, that would be the ideal situation when the two objects are created or annotated with a new annotation. So it's obviously when you annotate first, you receive the event, annotate the other, you receive other event, and the reconciliation should happen only if both are already annotated. And we are thinking if we should cover this situation somehow specific, because what you can do is just on a reconciler exit, basically when you see that there is an annotation on the one of the object, there is no annotation on the other object, you will receive the next event when the third party annotates the objects, the other object. So it will be anyway reconciled. So we are thinking if should be this situation somehow specifically handled. And as far as I know, in control runtime, there is this cross-cutting filter on events. I'm not 100% sure if you have to filter. We are filtering events on informer side and on event source side, usually one by one, if that's needed. But we don't have a concept of a cross-cutting filter that can observe all the filters, and you can just in one place check if you accept the event or not accept an event. And we didn't want to put it there while there is no explicit use case or need for that. So basically this issue is about that, to having a cross-cutting filter through all the events. But for now, we actually didn't find any very explicit need for that, or any request or anyone who's asking for that. This was the first issue that's popped up for now. So it's again discutable. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like you don't want to close it right now just because this is the first time it popped up, but there's no pressing need for it right now.
Yes,
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. These are the type of issues that come up, you capture them, and then you kind of revisit them later. And if you find that no one else is asking, this could have been a one-off, then it's kind of like, well, we'll document it, close it, and that way if someone brings it up, we could always...
They basically wait until the bot closes it.
Yes. Exactly. Dependent resource standalone.
These are very technical things about designing.
The pieces.
The pieces, so it's I not necessarily want to visit it, but basically I don't know if there is such high-level abstraction in control runtime or anywhere else. But basically, what we are designing is to not just put it together the whole reconciliation logic with the informers and basically the Kubernetes client, but have a explicit representation of, we call it dependent resource, and it will be encapsulate all the logic that you always do with the resource. Like, and this issue is just specifically about the detail that it should be usable out of the box. It just because the current design it's like auto managing them. It's and I think it's not all good in all cases. And so basically, it's a high-level concept we talked about I think a few times. And it's probably going to be in a pretty good shape end of next week. We are going to focus on that next week, so we can maybe present it.
Okay. Cool. We talked about the limited caches. Easy way to set owner references.
Yes, this is also something that we'll probably cover in that. So if somebody creates a resource, then usually you want to set the owner reference if it's a Kubernetes resource. And I was also today kind of experimenting how to do it with some utility methods nicely and all the logic around it. But basically, this is also probably done with the dependent resources that this will be a functionality out of the box. It's very easy to do it on that layer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that we've had to do this for like the operators that we have. Cool.
And I
Oh.
think that
Is that the new one? Did we ever get anywhere with this one? Oh, you put it in.
Yeah.
You put the diagram in. That's cool.
Yeah, it's actually, so basically it ended up in it's again, this is an issue, but we are obviously not going to implement it just if there is some really use case for that. So yeah, I mean, I discussed with Joe and there were some others actually who are developing the Fabricate client, the Kubernetes client. There is the whole Inform architecture, and it turned out they are kind of thinking very similarly how it would be scaled on some of the projects, which are just dependent on the Informer. And they just actually the conclusion was that it should probably done this way. It's a question if we need it or we should probably think about it or make steps forward there is a really need for it. So it's there is a bunch of ways how we are going forward with the performance and the memory utilization, like the caching issues.
Mm-hmm.
And also we want to probably in the later this year, in 1-2 months, start working on the reactive stack. So I'm not sure I think we discussed that already briefly.
Yes.
And basically that would also should be a quite big performance gain. On the other hand, there were a bunch of performance tests, and everybody was very happy with the current performance. Also, it just maybe something comes.
Cool. I think that was all of them, right?
And just one issue I want to. It was super good. I wait, just expand. I'm not sure, but basically we have in the informers. Wait, let me find it. It's. I think it was closed already. Just was a super good story about if you open the closed issues, there was this. I think the polling event source should trigger reconcile. I'm not sure if I think it's in control runtime. It's called source. which is basically not an informer, but an abstraction above. And we have the same, it's called, in our case, event source. And we just not providing informers, but provide some basic facilities for external non-Kubernetes resources. Like when you are polling an API you want to poll because there are no webhooks or there are no events from it. You want just to poll, for example, I don't know, GitHub API or something like that. And there were these users started to use it, and they give us very good feedbacks. And basically, at the end, it was we made some improvements. So I think they were the first to actually use it in some real world scenarios. But at the end, they're a super good story because with the improvements, everybody was super happy at the end from their side. So it was how we changed it. And it's a little bit tricky because we provide two kinds of polling. One is this less efficient way when you are polled for every resource separately. It's called a per resource event source. And there we have a polling event source, which is just polls periodically an API or basically anything. It just user can just specify an interface, like implement into like a supplier of the resources. And there were some long discussions how to fill the cache, when to do it, when to synchronize these, and at the end, they were super happy with that. So yeah, basically the polling seems to be working, although polling is very ugly, but in general in software engineering. But yeah, some places or sometimes you cannot go without it, like if you want to. But basically, it's we have this, yeah, as we said, we have these two ways of doing polling, out of the box provided, and yeah, it was really a success story with the users. I actually not from Red Hat. I don't know them, but at the end they wrote me on the Discord. They are very happy with that. So
awesome.
So it was super good. Basically, that's my update from this week. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let me see here. There's no checkpoints right now. If I go back to the agenda. Is there any PRs or anything that we needed to dig into?
I don't think so. I mean, yesterday we merged about, I don't know, 15 PRs, which,
wow.
Which then we released version 2.1. Well, it was, I mean, or just maybe not 15, but a lot.
That's cool.
Last 2-3 days, but yeah, I mean, 2.1 is out. It has some just two these big features, which is one is that we support now multiple custom resource versions. I mean, yes, multiple versions in the CRD. When you define multiple versions of custom resources, it wasn't supported for now. Now it's there because somebody was asking for that. It's a little bit very hard for us sometimes to explain how that works in Kubernetes. I think it's also a little confusing with the stored version, and for the people who are seeing it first time, that is a conversion hook needed and things like that. So it always a little bit discussion about then with the user how to properly set it up. And the big other feature of us is to out of the box have this automatic event triggers after a while. So now there is this 10-hour delay when at most there is a new event propagated and the new reconciliation happens. So there is a maximum delay or maximum interval between two reconciliations. So if Ivan is doing some mistakes, there is no informer in place or something, eventually there will be again reconciliation. So that was something that users were asking too, and it makes sense. So it's, yeah, that was and a bunch of other minor issues fixed and improved.
Awesome. Sounds like a good release. Cool. Okay. Well, if no one else has any, we will end early today. Any objections to that? All right, folks. Well, I'll give you back like 20 minutes. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thanks.